Mommy, mommy, I had a dream. And when I woke up, you were nowhere to be seen. The world was burned to the ground. There was no one around. Mommy, mommy, please answer me. What does it mean? What does it mean? We are visitors here in this time and space. One day we'll have to leave, whether or not you believe or agree. Remember, this world is a dream. Remember, this world is a dream. How many have gone before me? How many will come after I'm gone? The truth will live on. The truth will live on. Long after I'm gone, the truth will live on. The world is at the end of its cycle. You're the messenger, the oracle. Humanity have reached its pinnacle. Balance and harmony right in the vehicle. Supreme is dreaming of the particles. The experience of coming into the world and explore is temporary. Lose all attachment and desire. When it's time to leave, be ready. Self-realization shatters all illusion, fear, ignorance, or worry. Remember, this world is a dream. Remember, this world is a dream. Yes, I remember this world is a dream. It's time for self unification. So, I just did this video and did not realize there was no sound on. So, now I have to do the video over because I went through the entire video and I had no sound. So, thank you so much for joining. Hail, hail to the I Self Supreme, singular, non-dual, non-being, stillness, unmanifest self. Much honor. Thank you. Hail, hail to the I Self Supreme, primal light. Much honor. Hail, hail to all the I and I selves in union, in alignment, to restore balance unto the I self. I am victorious. I am triumphant. I am victorious. I am triumphant. I Self Supreme is victorious. I Self Supreme is triumphant. Victory, victory, victory. So I will go over these questions. Welcome and thank you for joining I am primal light, prepared for this dream duality existence. We're in this avatar, in this body as Auset, Aten Ra. Thank you so much for joining I. So, what is consciousness? The question here is, why did consciousness emerge? So, if you want an in-depth answer to what is consciousness, I want you to check out I have a video on consciousness. So let's get to this question. Why did consciousness emerge? The reason that consciousness emerged is so that the I self could create an imagination creation, so that the I self could learn about itself in duality. The I wants to learn about itself into the duality existence, and so the I had to shatter and fragmented itself, and the consciousness emerge from the shattered, fragmented self. And it is the mind of Ra. So know this truth that consciousness does not exist on its own. So Aten Ra, she is the real self. Her twin self is Ra. So Aten Ra, she wears the non-dual consciousness, right? Aten Ra wears the non-dual consciousness. The consciousness is on one side, there's void between, and there is the light. The consciousness have light. No, take a look at the duality consciousness. The duality consciousness is on one thin sheet, right? And it does not have any void between, it does not have any light. It's just the consciousness, and the light is being obscure behind. The light is being obscure from the consciousness. The consciousness has no light. And this is the mind of Ra. Ra is the twin self of Aten Ra. She is the self that is given the destiny to create this dream world that we are in. Aten Ra is our parent self, and Ra is our surrogate mother. Because we all have to come through Ra to come into her dream world. She's creating this world inside of her dream. So the consciousness emerged as the shattered, fragmented self atom. When the self was shattered and fragmented, all aspect of it, and I will show it to you later in the slide. So this is the duality mind. This is the duality consciousness. It has no light. This is the non-dual consciousness, the mind of Ra, Aten Ra. So this is the mind of Ra. This is the mind of Aten Ra. So I hope you guys can hear me clearly. I did this whole video and there was no sound. Did not realize that. So this is the mind of Aten Ra. She is the one that balances the world. This is the two forces that is into this dream. This one is creating and wants to keep us entranced into the dream. This is the consciousness that is doing that. All right. And so, did you know that the mind of Aten Ra created an avatar when she couldn't come into the world? And many ones know the avatar as Brahman. Brahman was Aten Ra in the mind avatar, but it's the non-dual. So this is the consciousness. Again, the consciousness emerged as the shattered, fragmented consciousness because the self wanted to create an imagination creation, and they needed the shattered, fragmented to consciousness to create this existence. And it is the mind of Ra. Know that there's a self, and there is self has a mind, just like you are the self and you have a mind. All right. So that's how that's why the consciousness emerged, so that
it can be the one that is creating the dream existence. So what is consciousness? Consciousness is the intellect of the self, and it is the supreme ego, because the consciousness sleeps and is in a dreaming state. It is a word, it is thought, it is imagination, and the consciousness create the matter. So we use the consciousness to create all our dream things. So the consciousness emerged as the self-replica of the non-duality consciousness, the mind of Aten Ra. She is the shattered fractal pure self, given the destiny to create a dream world and to play all the characters in the duality world. The duality consciousness is the supreme ego and becomes the first God, creating the existence inside its imagination while it is sleeping. This is one of the reasons why I am trying to demystify the gods, to make everyone understand what God is, that God is the supreme ego and God is not good, because I know that you have been tricked that God is good and God is balanced, but it is not so. Look at all the ones in the church, whatever religion they're from, and they worship a God. They're always secretly doing something evil. And not only that, they become homosexual, raping the children in the churches or the synagogues or the mosque. No, this happen. In the mosque, you don't hear them talking about it. In the synagogue, you don't hear them talking about it. But watch and listen. Pretty soon, everything that is hidden is going to be made known. So all of these truth is going to be coming from all of the churches, all the synagogues and the mosques, because God is a homosexual. All of the gods them are. They are the supreme ego. I want you to understand the thing about consciousness. All right? So I already answered what is consciousness. If you want an in-depth look at how I explain consciousness, please watch the video on what is consciousness. Okay, does consciousness exist from brain activity? And why did consciousness emerge? So no, the consciousness does not exist from the brain activity. The consciousness influenced the brain activity. Um, and remember, the consciousness emerged as the shattered fragmented self, just so that the self can create this imagination creation. Remember, when you see one playing a video game, you created a video game, you create an avatar, and you're in the game playing. This is what the consciousness is doing. But you are the self that is engaging with the consciousness. So that thing that once put over their face, the console thing that you get into the game, what hold us into the game is the consciousness that we are wearing, the mind. Right? Why is consciousness so baffling? The consciousness is so baffling because the consciousness is sleeping and the consciousness is dreaming. And because the consciousness is sleeping and dreaming of this existence, and it have everyone in playing the games, it does not want anyone to stop playing the game and to get out of the game. Right? Just imagine that you have that console on your eyes. You see those people, they're doing all of these things, and they there's nothing there, right? They're just doing that to the ear. But because they are immersed in the game, the thing that they put on their eyes immerse them into the game. The same thing with this mind that you are wearing, immerse you into the game. So you are not realizing that You are in the avatar in the game and you're not realizing that this is what the consciousness has now have so much power in the game that it entrance you in the game and promise you riches and all these things so you can stay in the game and not stop playing the game. Because when you stop playing this game and take off that console, take off that mask, this game ends. You see how much power you have? That's why you have to do this, right? You have to stop playing the game. The power is in your hand. This is why the consciousness is so baffling, because it is very deceiving. It is very deceptive. It is tricking everyone that comes to play the game. It tricks them and entrance them, put them in a trance, and they are locked into the game. Right? So, what is the mind body problem? And is the brain and the mind the same? No, the brain and the mind is not the same. So, in the body, the brain and the mind are existing on one thin sheet, like a coin. You know, the coin have the head and the tail. And let me find the duality. The coin have the head and the tail, right? One side is the consciousness, the head, and the tail is the self on the other side. So when the self come into the body, the consciousness is in the front, the consciousness is ruling, right? The consciousness have the command. So it immersed in the body and it goes all through the body. This is why it's hard for the self to like just fly out of the body like that. Only when you go to sleep, then you go into the invisible world. All right. So the consciousness takes over the brain and it influences the brain in what it needs to do. Right. Because otherwise the brain will just be there and have no power if the consciousness and the self doesn't come in and immerse. Because remember that the consciousness and the self is on one sheet that like this, right? And it's very thin. I don't even know how. You ever seen those computer things? It's I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, the self show me what it looks like, but I can't find the words to explain it. But I have seen them show like a computer thingy, and it just emerge inside of the body, and it just go in and takes over the happenings of the body and the functionings and what needs to happen. So this is what the mind is doing into the body, right? So the self is being obscure and the consciousness is ruling. All right. And so this is what is happening. That's the problem. The mind body problem is that everyone that is wearing the body, they are thinking that they are the body. And they're thinking that also that they are the mind. Remember, the mind is the ego, but behind the mind is the real consciousness that is the one that is sleeping. That is the ego. But when the consciousness wakes up, it goes back into its real true nature of being permanent. The consciousness is eternal. It is formless, timeless, limitless, boundless. But into the dream, the consciousness is identifying as the thing that everything it creates, it thinks that it is itself. So we are identifying as the body because someone told us with their delusional mind that we were created. And all of the fight in the world is about who created which body, right? And so they put enmity between us all of the ones who are wearing different tones of body fighting each other. This is the problem. If you stop identifying as this body and identifying as yourself, then you can see that all is yourself and you're not this body. This body is going to fade away and you, the self, is going to remain. Right? This is the problem with this mind body. Stop identifying as this mind. It is the supreme ego. It is delusional and it does not know truth. This mind is in a sleep, a dream, using its imagination to create the dream things, all your dream things that you have. All right? And remember the brain and the mind. The brain is this physiology, this physical thing for the body. While the mind, it is not this physical thing. It is formless, timeless. It has no form, right? So it is in this state. The mind is the magnetic particles. It is the magnetic energy. All right? And it is the protons. It has no light, no electrons. And so where is my mind located? So the mind is located in the body. It's taking the function into the head. But remember, like I said, the mind and the self is on one sheet, so it's spread out throughout the whole entire body. The mind and the self is spread out because remember, it is not a physical thing. It is an energy, right? It with the self, it's spread out into the body. Ow. So, but it functions to the brain, to the head. This is the main function of where the mind is. But it is with the self, just like I show you that it is on one sheet, so it's not the mind here and the self there. It's all together and spread out and controlling the body from the head, from the brain. All right. And so what is the soul and what is the spirit? So the soul is the primal light self in the shattered, fragmented baby self of Aten Ra. She's the one that is creating the world, this dream world, through her self replica Ra. And the spirit is the baby self of the soul, and they are the ones that is sleeping. So let me see if I can give you an example here. Okay, I think I used this, but so the soul. So say this is the soul. It's going to make some many cells and baby cells. So say for instance, this is the baby self of the soul. This is the soul. This is this baby, right? The masculine and feminine are separated. So feminine, masculine, the same thing with the soul. The spirit, so they rise up. The spirit is going to be the baby of the soul, but there are also spirits that rise inside of the dream, that they are creation of Ra. And all of the ones that rise in the dream, they are not the real, and they will be dissolved back from wherever they rise from. If it's from the spirits, only the real selves will remain. So the soul, everyone will go back into being their soul self, and all the spirits will be dissolved because they are just the baby of the soul. The spirit is the self that animates the body so that the soul self can be the balance to the spirit. But the reason why many ones were not balanced is because the gods them has been enslaving the soul, because the soul, when you look into the night sky and you see all of those stars, they are the suns. They are suns, and they are the the each of the souls, they have a sun. And because all of the gods, they want the light, they have no light, they are only protons, they are magnetic, they're only magnetic energy, and they don't have any electrons because it's been obscure behind them. And so they take the soul and they use the soul for their light, because the soul is balanced. The soul have the sun, its light, and just the spirit is sleeping, and the soul want the spirit to wake up. It is its baby self. Once the spirit wakes up from sleeping, it merges back into the soul, and only the soul exists. So this is what is going to happen soon. There's going to be less and less ones in the world, because everyone have to go back to just being the soul self. Only the real self will exist, and all of the clones will be dissolved. Um, because everyone have a destiny of what they want to explore in the world, and now this dream will be ending. Because remember again, you have that console, you are playing this video game, you have to come and to realize, which I am going to show you in a little while, um, does a soul have an afterlife? um, so prior to now, what's happening with the world right now, we are existing in the visible world. So it's, remember, it's all duality. So everything is always pairs of two. So we have the visible world where we have the light, the sun that illuminates and gives us energy and balances us. The invisible world, there is no light. It is complete darkness. So when the soul is animating the body by its spirit self, it is in the visible world where we have the sun. The soul is getting lots of energy from the self to wake up its spirit self. But when you pass out of the body, you lose that awareness of the sun. And now you go into the invisible world, which is below the earth. Know this. All of those ones that you're called aliens and all of those that yourself, they have always been here with us. They are just been invisible. This is yourself in the invisible, right? So this is what they call the afterlife. Because remember, life is the duality, the life part where you with the sun, and the dead part where you have no sun. You go to the invisible world, and there is just darkness. When you have life, you come in a body, and now you have connection to the sun. So you see how these crazy governments are saying that they are going to block the sun out. Why do they want to block the sun? Anyone is saying that they want to block the sun, they are one of those demonic selves. Why would you want to block the sun? Think about it. The sun supports life here in this visible world. It's because the self is digging them up from the invisible world, from under the earth, where they have many of those demons have been, and those self. And so now, because they used to come out in the night to disturb us, so now the self is illuminating things, and things are changing down there. So this is the reason why, because the self that is being the darkness is waking up too. So they don't want the sun, too much sunlight, because now the self is activating the DNAs that they call junk DNAs in the body. They're activating the spirit, activating the soul, so the soul can have more power. And they don't want this. They want to continue to enslave us into this dream, and they don't want this dream to end. So this is why they are now afraid of the sun, talking about they're going to block out the sun because climate change. Why is the climate changing? The climate is changing because this earth is actually a sun that is with its light obscure. The underworld, the is also a sun. This is Amun Ra. They are all suns, but their light is turned off. You can see that volcano in the center of the earth, this magnet and all of those things. The light is turned off. The self is activating it to turn the light on slowly. Slowly, it's going to slowly illuminating. So they are afraid of this. So the changes that's happening within every one of us. And they don't want this. They don't want for us to be liberated from this slavery, the soul slavery. This is the biggest slavery that no one ever told you about. They don't want this to happen. But all souls are free, all selves are free, because they can no longer hold the soul in slavery and doing all of their crazy things that they have been doing. All of those dream characters will be dissolved. Yeah. So pay attention to what they are saying when they are trying to do these foolishness. They have been fighting this war against their self. So just imagine this. You have a twin, right? You have an exact twin. And your twin is fighting you, and your twin cannot see that, hey, I am you. Why are you fighting me? Your twin wants to destroy you because your twin has become so corrupted into the dream that it doesn't see you no longer as itself. It sees you as an enemy trying to destroy its crazy thing that it is doing. Raping ones, enslaving souls, murder and killing and blood sacrifice and drinking bloods and all these things. You have no idea the craziness that many of you know the craziness because you are caught up in it, and many ones don't know. But a lot of ones, because they have been spreading it like crazy now. So now the self is, when someone passed from the body to go into the afterlife, the self is merging them with their soul. So this is going to be the final stage of this duality existence. Will be no more when it is dissolved. We are going to move to non-duality. I am so excited. You can know how I'm excited because you don't know the suffering that I have been through with all of these demonic forces and all of these gods that you are serving and calling on. Pay attention. Every church, every synagogue, every mosque. Why are they doing these things? Because the consciousness is tricking them. The mind is deceiving them, and they do not know this. They are doing all these sacrifices because they are in such ignorance. You don't want this to end? Come on already. Think about it. Don't you want a better world? I want self-harmony because I know that all is myself, and I know that myself, who is in ignorance, have been fighting me like crazy. You have no idea how myself has been fighting me and don't want me to speak, fighting me like crazy. And so I want this duality to end. It's not ending fast enough for me because every day I'm in suffering. Every day I am in suffering. I have to deal with these dualities. They find me. Because why? Because I am illuminated. But The self is making me invisible to those government people and all of those other ones who wants to make harm to me. The self is making me invisible to them because they have their device that they are can do their invisible thing, but they're not more powerful than the I self supreme. And so I am invisible to them. I am here, they see me, but they don't recognize me. All of those ones who are doing a lot of those craziness to those gods and talking about they are going to block the sun, though all of those crazy governments who are doing this. So it tells you that they are involved into those demonic forces. So because they come and try to control over you and try to make you do crazy and stupid things. All right. What is life and what is death? Life is just I in the duality. It is I going to sleep and forgetting I self and creating a world inside of my imagination. You must realize this, that the I is doing all of this. Take responsibility. Stop waiting for someone to come and save you. Take responsibility for what you are creating and dissolve this dream. You have the power. Your soul is very powerful. Take command of this journey. Please do this. What is death? Death is just when the I is making this duality existence into this body, creating a body, coming into the body, animating the body, and now the I have to leave out of the body. That is all. So the I self has no death. It's just the body, because the body is like your car, your vehicle. All right. So the I must face death. Face death. You have to go through this death experience and dissolve death. I am deathless. I was never born, so I can never die. But you have to go through this so that the mind, the ego, this false self can get this. Because if you don't do this, everything that we are doing is for the mind to get an understanding. Because the mind is the imagination and it thinks that everything into this is real. Because even the gods, they was going crazy when the self first came because they were thinking that they too was going to die. This is how crazy the mind is, that the gods, ourselves, invisible, was saying, thinking that they too was going to go, they was going to die. And I have to tell them that, no, when they come and terrorizing me, and I said, no, you are not going to die. The self is just going to pull this ego off of you so you can wake up and stop torturing me. All right. So I am going to show you in the next couple of slides how when they're playing the video game, how you immerse yourself into it. All right. So when you're playing the video game, when your character die is when you stop playing the game, right? And you are there, only the character, your avatar. All right. So do humans have free will? So if you are saying you're a human, meaning that you are into the ego false self, and the ego false self like to think it has free will because this ego is rebellious and wayward. Everyone is doing their own thing. That's why there can be no harmony, because my mind is telling you one thing, your mind is telling you one thing. It is very confusing because everyone is in the ego false self and they're using this ego, this mind that is delusional, that is sick, and is making up stories that are not true. And so everyone wants to defend their ideology and the craziness that their mind is telling them. And so this is what ones would say is free will. But the I self supreme, when you come into true self realization, there is no free will. There is just one goal, one destiny for the I to do is to dissolve this dream. Because what? All is myself. What do myself want? Myself has created an imaginary creation, and now all of myself entrancing it has been wanting to destroy me. So what is my destiny to do when I come in the realization but to dissolve the dream that I have created? To dissolve this game, to stop the game that I have created, and know this my ego is taking over the game and no want to think that all of this is real. So there is no free will into the I self. It's the will of the self. The self wants self unity and self harmony. Because remember, all is the I self, and the self is in ignorance, and the self is suffering, and the self is crying. But you don't know that the self cries. Do you know that? The self cries. Yeah, the self cries. Sometimes I am here and tears and tears and tears, and I am, the self cries because itself is fighting it. Remember, you have a twin. It's your exact copy, identical. Only that you are awake yourself, your twin is dreaming and sees you as its enemy, and you just want to destroy its dream and don't want to come to self unity. The self is crying to see itself like that, suffering. The self want this dream to end. Don't be afraid of yourself, because you are in suffering. Your real self, the soul, is in suffering. The soul cries. Believe me, if you connect with your soul, you will know this. Your soul cries because it's in suffering from all of the gods, them beating up on the self, swallowing the soul, and torturing it. The soul cries. So know that this, I want to paint this picture clear for you so you can understand the suffering that the I self is in. The I self is suffering. Don't you want to get out of this suffering? There is no free will. It's just one destiny, one desire for self-unification. The I must come into realization and be unified with the I self, so that the I can stop this suffering. If this dream continue, there's only more suffering. This is the best time right now to be into this body. Many ones are not in this body, but the I is in this body. When you can get to know all of the different aspects of yourself in the real, I am not talking about those gods, those dream characters. They are not the real self. They are the avatars. You know, when you in the video game, I'm going to show you in the next screen. You're in the video game and you're playing with those avatars in there. The avatars, are they real? Only the self that is animating the avatar. You're fighting, the avatars are fighting each other. So the I must stop playing the game and come into this real and into this realization to know that the I self supreme suffers and wants self unification, wants to balance. All right? No free will. Only the ego has free will because it wants to do whatever it wants to do, and it doesn't want peace and harmony. Look what's going on in the world. This one is saying this one is saying this, and they're all fighting because what? One God tell them something. God said this, and God, people can all come on. Oh, God told me this. Who cares what God told you? God is a liar. So this is what you must come to this realization. When somebody come up to you and talk about God tell you, say God is a liar. I don't believe nothing God say. God is delusional. Because if God can tell you to go war with your other selves and do this with your other self, and you cannot come into this and see the fallacy in that, then you are entranced fully into the dream. They're using gods for excuses to do wrong because God is evil, because you have been programmed to thinking that God is good. God is not good. God is your ego, false self. God is the supreme ego. Yes, God is creating this world, but God is not good. The I self supreme, Atenra, is balancing what God is creating. So otherwise, this world would have been worse if we didn't have the real self balancing what the craziness that is happening. All right? So this is what they want to tell you, that you have free will, you can do whatever you want. No, you're in a dream. No, you want to do what the I self supreme for balance for the I self. Get into this mindset to do balance for the I self, to stop the suffering. Don't be afraid to want to move to the non-duality for balance and harmony. They have trapped us in here to think that this is real, and when the self is dissolving the dream, they don't want us to dissolve it. So the next question, does the cosmos have a reason? Yes, it is an aspect of the duality. This is the reason for it, because the selves are in layers, so that each self have a role to play, to put enough distance between the dualities that is in the invisible world and the human beings, so that, because remember, if they have some stories that tell us that they was building towers to try to get, remember, the sky was closer to us, it just keep expanding and moving. The more we grow in technology and want to reach further, the more the existence expand and stretches away from us. Because there was one time when the sky was very close to us, until one was going up into the sky, just like what they're trying to do now, trying to break the dome. That's why they're shooting rockets, but they cannot break this dome. They wanting to block the sun. These are all the crazy things that they are doing, but they're telling you wrong things. Why they telling you they want to block the sun? Because it's climate change. All this time when the sun was here, why now you want to block the sun? Can you live on here without the sun? The sun is supporting the life here. The sun is activating your DNA. The sun is activating yourself. This is the reason why they want to do this. Pay attention to what they are saying. All right? So yes, the cosmos have a reason, because it is an aspect of the duality that put enough distance between us down here and the aspect of the self. So we wouldn't be so self-destructive outside of here. We are so self-destructive. These human beings, I think they're probably one of the worst. The destructiveness of the things that they do. And what is existence? The existence is the I self in the duality and in non-duality. So it's I in the real and in the dream. The existence is all of I doing all of this creation in the myriads of everything. All of this existence is the I self in myriads of different forms and ways of being. So how can space and time be the same thing? So I want to show you, explain, but I'm going to show you on the next video how space and time can be the same thing. So this is the galaxy. This is the universe. This is the cosmos. This is the realm. Um, this is the self is spread out, because remember, each time the self is expanding, when it see that we are learning more and trying to get out there, it keeps expanding. So because the self is expanding, us in the body, to get from here to here, the space between, this is how long is it going to take us to get where we are to get to the universe. This is how time comes in. So time is not real. It's just the space. That is, the space is the duality self. The space is also a self. All right, know this. Space is a self, and it's just from us to get from where we are to the other selves. How long is it going to take us? Because we are into this time system, that because the we go to sleep and we wake up, this is one day, right? 24 hours. But the other existence has no time. It's just from our perspective here, which is false perspective, that we are seeing this. So there is really no time in existing. But because from our level, we want to say how long it's going to take us. They say how many light years and all these things. I don't even know how science is doing all of these calculations. But that is just how time came in, because how the self is expanding, and they want to figure out how they can get to the self, to whatever aspect of the self they want to get to, and how long it's going to take them. This is how time comes in. Now, there's no time existing. Everything is happening all at the same time, because it's just that the distance between the selves is allowing the delay for us, because the self is so vast, and by the time something gets to us here, it's the vastness of it. All right, so that is how time and space is the same thing. It's really just space. Why did our universe begin? Our universe began because the self, the manifest void self, is the self that brings into being the primordial egg. Where's my primordial egg? Anyway, I can't find my primordial egg, but anyways, so the primordial egg, the self brings into being the real self. Remember, each self as a twin. One is the duality, one is the non-duality. So the non-dual self is the void manifest self that brings into being the first egg, the primordial egg, which is the pure self atom. And what the self did was shatter the atom, and now this the universe becomes the twin of the void self, and it is the self now that becomes that create that the universe, and now the self can build up on the next aspect of what the duality is. So when the universe is created, then the realm and all the other aspect of the duality build on it. And I am going to show you in the next video how the self is building on each other. They are stacked together. And the next video, in the next couple of slides, I will show you. So this is why the universe began, because now this is the level of the dream, where the self wants to start building the tangible things. That's why the self got shattered. And I'm going to show you also when the self shattered, how everything got separated, how the masculine and feminine got separated. That's why men and female are separate, because the self, the real self, is together, no masculine, no feminine. It's just the like a non-binary self. Has no identity of male or female. Not male and female. I mean masculine and feminine. Um, and I'll show that to you in the next couple of slides. And is the world a dream, and how am I in a dream? So, yes, the world is a dream because the mind, like I explained, is the one that is using its imagination because it's sleeping and dreaming. Because remember, when the mind, the consciousness has light, this is how it exists. It has, because this is the shattered, fragmented mind. So we have the consciousness on one side, and we have the void between, and you have the light. But this duality consciousness, this, you see how different it is, and the self shows me all of this. So this is why I know what it looks like. I know what it looks like because this is how it is. I know the consciousness is dreaming right now. It's no longer awake. Here, the consciousness is awake because it is the self replica of Aten Ra's mind. So, Aten Ra have two minds. One is the non dual, and this is duality, and Ra is her twin self that is wearing this mind and is doing the dreaming and creating the dream. This is her mind is sleeping and dreaming in their imagination. And now we come in for us to experience the dream. She gives us a replica. She gives us a replica of her mind. This is how we are experiencing the dream. Just like when you're playing the video game, you put on that console over your eyes, you have the hand things, and you immerse yourself in it. This is how you play the game. So this is what is happening, right? This is how you are in the dream, because you are having the mind that is allowing you to be a part of the game. So the way that you come to realization is to take off the mask of the mind, take off the ego that is on you. And you have to do it through stillness and self-inquiry for the teacher within the self soul to rise up. It is the destiny of the self to pull this ego off of you, and finally you will realize that, oh, I was actually sleeping and entranced in a dream of this duality consciousness, the mind. Do we see reality? And is reality an illusion? Nope. We do not see reality because this is a dream and it is an illusion. We are wearing also a veil over the eyes, and right now the sun is removing the veil from many one's eyes so that you're going to be able to see clearly, because the veil is being removed from your eyes. So in your meditation, focus on these things. Only stillness, and allow the self to pull the ego off of you and remove the veil from your eyes. The consciousness has veiled your eyes so that you can see clearly that this is an illusion and it is not real. It's all your imagination. The I is assuming that this world is a reality, but in fact, this world is only a dream. So this is very important that the I remember this. The I is just playing a character in an avatar in the game of life. Look at this guy. You see, he have the console, he has the I thing, and they're doing all these things, right? Are they inside of the dream with the This is allowing them, this is allowing the I to play the game, and you immerse yourself in the game and you really think that this is happening. See all these characters? You are one of these characters in the dream, in the game, right? And one of these is your avatar. Is this real? Are they real? No. These are not real. It's just you that is wearing this thing that is allowing you to immerse yourself into the game. And what is it for us? The ego. We are wearing this ego, this consciousness that is entrancing us in the dream. And now the consciousness created the dream, right? And it does not want this dream to end. You see, all of these characters, it does not want to lose any of them, because if you stop playing the game, this character ends. This character no longer exists in the dream, right? Because you're going to take off this console, you're going to take off all of these things, and the character cannot exist. So you see that the power is in your hand, right? You are in playing this game. The consciousness is entrancing all of us inside of the dream and tricking us. Is being very deceiving because we are wearing the consciousness. That's why you have to have it pulled off of you. This is what is happening right now. All right? See, look at all these characters. They are doing all of these motions and things because they are immersed in the dream. They are into the video game. You know, there's so many ones in the video game now. They don't even get up from where they are. They have their food and everything immersed in the game. They don't go outside. They don't interact with anyone. And now they can make a living off of the gaming. So this gaming thing is really a good thing to explain how the I is immersed in the dream, because they want to. This is why they created, want to create this dream world, want to say, oh, you want to live forever, you can clone yourself in the dream and all your things inside of the game, so that you can entrance yourself some more into another crazy dream. So this is a perfect example. Don't get immersed in any more dreams, please. See? Immerse in the dream only because you are wearing this console, this thing over your eyes that covers you. You cannot see. You're immersed in it, into whatever you are seeing. Take off your mask. It's time to take off your mask. Only when you take off your mask, you will know that, oh man, I was entranced in the dream. Take off your mask and see this world is not real. This is not a reality. This is only an illusion. This is what is happening, okay? I hope you can get this. I hope your mind. I have tried in many, many ways to explain this so that everyone can understand this. Just choose a video that I am explaining and see which one relates to you that you can understand. So the mind intelligence is the supreme ego. It is the magnetic. It's the duality, invisible, and it is the dream. While the self-intelligence is the electromagnetic, and it is the real. Right? The screen which the duality existence is being played out on is the I Self Supreme, primal light, and also go beyond with the I Self Supreme, the stillness self. Okay? Remember that there's always a twin. There's the real self, the non-dual, and then its twin, the duality. And this duality self is always fighting. This is why it's been a struggle to bring balance to this dream, because every self have its demonic self that it's fighting against it, not wanting to wake up, not wanting to take off the mask and come into the real. The self having to be fighting with itself to pull the mask off, right? This has been a very traumatic experience. So here, this is one of those ancient sites in Mexico. Guys, if you can get the opportunity to go to Mexico and visit some of these ancient cultures, it will be a good experience. But because the ones them in the USA, the government has sealed them off, and we cannot even get to any of them. They seal off all of the ancient sites here into the US because the government wants to trick us, because when they look on the paintings on the wall, they see ones with skins with dark tones, and they cannot support their propaganda and lies that they're told that the ones who are wearing dark skin are inferior to them. When you are going to visit these sites and you are seeing that this is a lie that they have told you, that all is one self and that they are not superior to anyone, because it's all is one self. This is what the supreme ego does. And we can learn a lot from seeing some of these ancient sites, but the government here in the US does not want anyone to go, so they block them off and no one can get to see it. Believe me, just like in Mexico, there are sites here, but you don't know about them because the government sealed them off. But all that is hidden will be made known. All of those pastors and all of those governments, the Muslims, the the Jewish, all of those religious people who are sodomizing young boys, raping, and all of them do it, but you don't hear them coming out from the Muslim community. You don't hear them coming out from the Jewish community. But pretty soon, they all of this will be revealed. They are all liars and doing this foolishness and following God's. So I want to explain to you, this is the selves. This is how the selves are stacked up, piles of selves stacked on each other like this. And so this is why when we are here and we want to get here, this is what we call time and space, the distance to get from here to here. How long will it take us to get from here to here? But let me go back to it. So this is how they are talking about time, right? So this is how the self is right here. The selves are layers on top of each other, just like this. And we in the body as the soul is the last layer of the self. Apart from, because all of the animals and all of those things, they are the consciousness. Um, they have the same consciousness, the same mind like us. Flies, everything that in this creation, the consciousness is creating it with its mind. It's all of consciousness just like us. So we are no more important in terms of the consciousness than any of the creatures in this world. Our importance comes as the soul self because we have the command to take command over the mind and to dissolve, to end the game by taking off that thing that is obscuring us, that thing that is preventing us from coming into true realization. So all the selves, they are inside of each other. Know this. This is how the selves are. This is the world that we are in. We are the smallest one right here. Everything else is bigger than us, right? This is the world that we are in. It's the same thing. Is the self, is the world, and we are inside of it, right? So cut this in half. This would be the visible world. This would be the invisible world below. All righty. So know this truth. So so The I self alone exists as the singular stillness, only one pure self. It is not consciousness. It is not Christ consciousness. It is not higher level of consciousness. It is a self that has all aspect of itself in non-being form. There is no properties. You cannot identify anything in this self. This is why the self has shattered itself in make these fragments so that the I can learn about the different aspect of the self. So the singular self makes a baby self. This is how the self is um, self-dividing. This is a dividing of the self and multiplication of the self. This is why there are so many selves in the world coming from one self, right? So the self make a baby of itself, right? The baby stillness, non-being. No, it makes its twin that becomes the duality. No, the baby stillness makes a baby that is the primordial light. This is the first light that comes in. No, the primordial light makes a twin, which is the primordial darkness that everyone knows in the world as Lucifer. Because as you see, Lucifer is the twin to the primordial light. So Lucifer is actual light. Now Lucifer is joined back with itself and light is being restored. So it's no longer in darkness, right? Um, no, the primordial light makes a baby of itself too. You see the pattern? That can't be explained. And this is the self that is the black hole. It makes a twin of itself, the great spirit, and that becomes the wormhole. No, that cannot be explained. Self makes a baby of itself that becomes the void unmanifest. The void unmanifest makes a twin of itself that becomes the galaxy, right? And all of those galactic beings and all of those galactic federation and all these stuff rise from all of the dualities. So all of these over here, they are the dualities. All of the twin is the duality. The real self remains the real. So the void unmanifest now makes a baby of itself. So you see how I showed you the layers back over here, right? So each this a baby, then this one makes a baby, now it makes a baby. This is how it's going. So you can see they are giant over us, and we are the smallest baby. And so the void manifest makes a baby, which becomes the baby void unmanifest. Its twin becomes the space being. All right. And now the baby void unmanifest makes a baby of itself, which become the void manifest. And this, the void manifest, is the self that makes the primordial egg. This is when the first egg come into being. Because you know how ones are debating what comes first, the egg or the chicken. So the self that comes first and the self bring into being the primordial egg, which is the pure self atom. And now the twin of the void manifest is the universe that's in duality, right? So what the self, the void manifest does is shatter this egg, the primordial egg, shatter the self atom into tiny particles. And this becomes the self unmanifest, the primal light unmanifest. This is what science called dark energy. And its self replica, it becomes the duality and it's called dark matter. So see how the self is shattered here? Now we have the protons, which is the masculine, and it becomes Anu. Also, the proton is also the self-consciousness, and the consciousness. So there's two things that rising from the proton. The self-consciousness is the masculine, and the consciousness, the mind. Now, this self is in duality. All the masculine selves, they enter the world into duality, and all the feminine, they remain the real self. So the masculine and feminine are exploring separately. So this is how we came from these shattered selves, from all the the feminine arising from the same, and all the masculine are coming from this down the line. So this is the shattered, fragmented self unmanifest. That is the particles, all those tiny particles. So this is why science, they too are going and getting those particles, and they are creating different things. This is how the elements are created. This is how the self makes the sun that we see. It takes stuff from the electrons, it takes from the protons, and it takes from the void to create the sun, because the protons is the magnetic, is the magnets. So all the masculine, they are magnetic. The the feminine, they are the neutral self, and they have the void self into them, and they also have the electrons, the light that is merged into make the self. Okay, I'm sorry, let me go back to that. And I know the first physical light, sun that arises, like the sun that we see, then this one is the black sun. So we have, and we haven't seen that one yet. And the void self. So the void is always between every aspect of the self, because this is how we can learn about ourselves, because the self shattered itself here so that the self can learn about itself in a shattered, fragmented aspect. Now, the protons, Anu makes a baby of himself, and that is Enil. So Anu twin is Elohim, right? And the feminine self from the unmanifest is Het Heru. And they have no light because they are exploring as duality, that dark matter. They are the ones that is make the dark matter, that becomes the dark matter. And so now Anu makes a baby, which is Enil, the proton, and the self unmanifest make a manifest self that become Atum. No, Atum is the self replica. Sorry, it becomes the self manifest because this self has no name. Its twin self is Atum. Enil twin is Enki. And then of course this is how the self now created the black sun and the void. Now the baby of Enil is Amen. And the baby of the self manifest is Aten Ra. And I know the sun that we see, the manifest sun that we see now, that is Aten Ra, her self replica. She makes another sun for herself, which is Ra. And then of course we have the void. So this is how these selves are exploring as this. Remember, all of it is our self. All right. And now all of us in as the soul self, we rise from Aten Ra and Amen. So all the feminine arise from Aten, and all the masculine arise from Amen. And everyone is also given a son, and the self soul is always into the void. So everyone have a son. Know this. So it is time to take off your mask and see this world is not real. Remember, this world is a dream. You are too invested in this dream. Be invested in liberating the I self trapped and enslaved in this dream fantasy world. In all your studies, teachings, scriptures, and your doctrines, know and remember this truth that you are enslaved inside of a dream. It's time to wake up. All right? I want you to remember this. This is very, very important. Remember that the mind is thought, memory, imagination, and it's very habitual. Why must I practice mind stillness? Because this mind is the tainted baby consciousness. The mind is tainted with impurities, memory replay, sick imagination. The mind is prone to mental sickness and destructive ideologies that instigate cruel action. You can see this being outplayed into the world. The mind is very deceptive and does not know the truth about the self. Know that every evil begins in the mind before it is acted out in the world. Stillness purifies the mind. Stillness purifies my mind. Stillness arise the supreme teacher within so it can pull this ego off of the baby self called the spirit so that I can finally remove the mask and see that I have just been entranced into the dream. So I want to thank the I for all the I questions. I want to ask, do you have a question? And I also would like to ask you a question. What is your experience? How are you feeling? Because I know how crazy this mind is. And I know that a lot of crazy things are happening in the world. And I just want to know how you are doing. So I want to say thank you so much for joining us, for joining I. I bow to I in self, in light, and in truth. I am one with all. All is the I in myriads of forms. So, thank you so much. So, I am going to close out with this victory song so that we can all be victorious for self unification.
Light a candle.
Thank you, Rod, so much.
To the world. Light a candle. By the time the candle blow out, burn my light, the self supreme. Triumphantly rise, calling ourselves to be self-harmony. Win this battle, this war with me, cause the time has come to gain balance and harmony over all itself. Training ourselves to be the war must cease. Create electrical magnetic harmony. Light a candle, balance to the world. Self supreme, usher in the new dawn. Balance and harmony is called. Balance and harmony. Join in harmony, no duality. Primal way to be still in harmony. Say victory, self-harmony, self-harmony, non-duality. Victory arise triumphantly, bringing harmony, balance to the world. Of harmony, maintaining equanimity, bring balance to the world. Bring balance, maintain massive harmony. Bring balance to the world. Equanimity, bring balance, Victory, victory arise triumphantly, bringing harmony and balance to the world. Conscious evolution for all. A fractal of self, aligned with self supreme. In all the world, it's all of me. More to see, myriad variety. Electrical, magnetic beams, different levels to perceive. Join on in harmony, balance to the world. Self-harmony, maintaining equanimity. Bring balance to the world. Victory, I rise triumphantly. Finally, I balance me. After eons of battling ego and greed, all me in every level of being obscured by ignorance, illusion, dream. All self bow to self supreme, the master of me, fractal being, electrical, magnetic being, joining harmony, non-dual self harmony. Victory, I rise, equanimity, harmony, and balance of the world. Maintaining equanimity, bring balance to the world. Self-harmony, maintaining my equanimity. Victory, I rise triumphantly, bringing harmony and balance to the world.
Thank you